We miss them
Yeah,
terribly.
yeah.
But we know they're in a good place.
Yeah.
And that story is a story that is meant for dealing with death with a child.
So it's okay that you cry as well.
Yeah.
It's not good. Yeah, that's good. That's yeah.
Would it not be more damaging not to cry and not to show
Oh,
emotion?
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So they see that grown-ups have emotions as well,
Yeah.
and it's more how you deal with getting over the emotions.
And it's okay for them to see you angry as long as you're constructive about it. I mean, learning how to deal with anger is a really important thing that they need to see, and that it can be handled in a way that doesn't destroy someone else or attack someone else.
But the important thing is that none of these emotions are counterfeit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're genuine
Yeah.
in the moment, you know. And then the children learn to express their emotions too.
And it's particularly good for boys to see their father weep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because in our culture, men's weeping is not acceptable. And we have all these men with ulcers because of it. And other kinds of things. So getting our boys to be nurturing, caring, emotional human beings is a really important function in this day and age. So, you know, if you have a husband who's sensitive and is willing to cry over a story in front of his children, let him. You know, it's really important for your boys and for your girls to see that, so that they don't expect their partners to be always in control.
I can vouch for that because our little girl, just her bird died. She got it for Christmas, and so myself, my husband, and her as well were just crying and crying. So we did a little grave for her with the cross. Then she actually drew a picture because it was the final thing, because we took her to the vet first. But it was still a final thing for her, so she saw from progression right through to the end, and she drew a little picture with flowers and the sun and that, and put it near its little grave. And often she'll still go there and sing her song, but at least she knew that, you know, like he was loved then, but then there was still that final stage of when he actually died and where he is, so that she had some closure
Yeah,
to it. Yeah.
it's very important. And having your children deal with a pet that dies, or a wild animal that they've kept. My grandson caught a snake that he really liked very much. It was a small garter snake. But he wasn't sure what to feed it. And so he was trying different things. He was really trying very hard to find something that it ate. But it didn't eat for 3 or 4 days, and it finally died. And he felt terribly guilty over that. But it taught him something, so that the next time he found something, he found a turtle that he really liked. It was a tortoise, the kind that glows up. And luckily, he borrowed my digital camera and got a really good picture of just the turtle's eyes. The whole picture is the turtle looking into the camera. But then he felt he really wanted to keep it. But he remembered that he hadn't been able to find the proper food for the snake. And he didn't want the turtle to die. So he took the turtle out, and he was crying when he put it back in the wild too, because he didn't really want to send it back to the wild and give it away. But he was really glad that he had the picture, and the picture's on the refrigerator, so he still has his turtle, and he hasn't killed the turtle in his desire to possess it. So, you know, loving something and letting it go is a really important thing. If you really love someone or something, you give it its freedom. And that's a lesson that's well learned early. Other questions? Okay, well, we're early. I thought the storytelling would take longer than it did. You're a very efficient storyteller. So feel free to ask me personal questions. You know, if you don't, if it's a question you don't want to share with the group. Imbue thyself with the power of imagination. Have courage for the truth. Sharpen thy feeling for the responsibility of soul. And that's from Study of Man. Now, this first topic this morning is our own inner work and finding balance. So it's going to be a rather meditative process, hopefully to renew you and leave some open space for the information that we'll be doing later in the day. I'm going to talk a little bit about some books that are I feel the best for working with your inner life. One of them is Calendar of the Soul. Now there's an old version that is just plain. It's a plain blue book and it just has text in it. And then there's this beautiful new one, which David is holding up, which has lovely illustrations. Most of them are watercolor paintings. And there's one for each text. Another book is Knowledge of Higher Worlds. And another one, How to Know Higher Worlds. They're similar information presented in a different way. Another one is Theosophy. Now that's a little tougher to get through, but if you're interested in all the ways that Steiner looks at the human being, the 12-fold human being, the 3-fold human being, the 4-fold human being, and that you're curious about that, that's a good one to read. But it's hard going. I'll tell you from the start, it's hard going.
Although the new translation
It's probably better.
is it's in the same series as these two. The new translation is very readable, comparatively.
Yes. And the latest edition, there have been 3 issues of something that was called Philosophy of Freedom first, then Philosophy of Spiritual Activity, which is an American translation, and Intuitive Thinking, the Philosophy of Intuitive Thinking, which is a British translation. And that's also a good one to read. And not too difficult in the newer translations. I haven't read the British one, but I have read the American one, and it's pretty good. And again, Steiner didn't want people to buy his ideas hook, line, and sinker and just have faith in them. He didn't want people to worship him as a source of, or a guru or anything like that. He wanted people to take this information and work with it, try it in their lives, see what works and what doesn't. And what doesn't work, put on a back burner. What does work, use. And maybe the things that don't work now might work later in this lifetime, and maybe they'll never work for you in this lifetime. But just try them and work with what you can work with and put the rest aside. You don't have to believe all this. David has got a book. Do you want to read that quote?
In the book called Rudolf Steiner, His Life and Work, we find that Steiner says, the spiritual researcher approaches his student with this injunction: you are not required to believe what I tell you, but to think it, to make it the content of your thought world. Then my thoughts will of themselves bring about the recognition of their truth. So everything depends on your inner work.
Thanks, David. Now, one of the things that Steiner wanted people to do was to sit quietly and focus. He didn't recommend meditation that emptied your mind. He recommended a kind of meditation where you focused your mind on something, usually something very simple, what he started with was just visualizing a plain old pencil in 1 minute. And so, what, you have to handle this in your own way, but you can look at the details of the pencil, you can look at the eraser, you can look at the embossing on the brass that goes around the eraser, you can look at how it is sharpened or not sharpened at the end, but keeping that pencil as the only thing in your mind for 1 minute. So let's get comfortable and try it. Start now. Okay, the minute is up. Anybody want to share the experience?
I think I'm sort of used to meditating. It's harder to think about something than not to think about something.
You usually don't think about something?
Yeah, I usually meditate like clear, you know, and it's very hard. I didn't get past the long form. So it's harder to focus on something than not to for me.
That's interesting. Anybody else? Yeah.
My pencil was, it was like all pastel colours with metallic all through it. It had silver butterflies all over it. And the lead, the lead was multicoloured. It was really soft.
So you made an imagination, but you were able to focus for a minute. That's all. Yes.
I usually do mine with a blue ball. I do it at home. Yeah, I focus on a blue ball, and I find it's hard once you've got that ball and you can see the smoothness of it and the roundness of it and you know the colour of it. That it's hard to just picture the ball. Sometimes I feel like, or I imagine it's on the grass or something. So I just have to go back to the ball rather than what's around the ball. Oh,
So you used your ball for this, yeah?
I had a multi-sensory experience where it was an orange pencil, colouring pencil, and I smelt it and I actually tasted it. And the only thing that was outside the pencil was the colour it left on the page. So everything was inside, the smell, the taste, the sound even of the pencil was on the pencil. And it just turned into a multi-sensory experience.
Very interesting.
I had the same very, very strong sense of smell. I could smell it. It was more the smell than the visualisation of it.
Yeah. Very nice. Anyone else?
Mine was pretty ordinary. I just had the old Staedtler pencil, just the red, the black, the rubber on the end, the sharpened pencil. I guess I've just come out of school.
Were you able to keep focused on a simple pencil?
Yeah, like all the details of it, so it was very visual, what it looked like, what was written on the side.
Yeah, even a very ordinary pencil, ours in America are always bright yellow, and they have a brass fitting that holds the eraser, and so usually some writing on the side that says Empire or American Wood Products or something, and you know, even that has enough detail so that you can keep focus, you can keep your mind busy for a whole minute.
change from the stapler pencil to the yellow pencil to the triangular pencils that my boys are using. And it just,
A chameleon pencil.
yeah, it just kept changing.
Yeah. Very interesting. So you've had very, very different experiences. But the point of it is that you were able to focus on something for a minute. And this kind of practice really improves your life. It improves your ability to focus on your children, to do,
It was on her leg.
sometimes you're
I took it out.
expected when you have children, you end up having to multitasking. And if you can multitask and still have your priorities, you can make things work much better in your home. It's part of the organizational thing. But you need to try as hard as you can to not have to do that. But unfortunately, when we have children, things happen and they have to be dealt with instantly. Okay, the next one is one that Steiner's philosophy flows from Rosicrucian and theosophical thought. He was very active in the Theosophical Society until he disagreed with Madame Blavatsky, who he thought was being too powerful in the movement, and he pulled away from theosophy. But a lot of his philosophy is very similar to Rosicrucian and theosophical work. So the next one is very much out of the Rosicrucian tradition. It's a cross with a red rose on it. And for this one, he usually takes 5 minutes, because you can embroider that a bit. So let's try that one. 5 minutes. Anyone want to describe their cross and rose?
It started out as a brass cross, but it felt really cold, horrible, like you wouldn't know it, really rose. And then it became, the cross is like really masculine, the rosary, and then changed the masculine to horrible. Changed it to beams of light. And then it became my body and the rose of light. Those are really outskirts of the really melt, regeneration coming into the ground. And then it became really mentioned about that.
Yeah. I started out with a gold cross, and it was too simple, and so I changed it to a rosewood cross, which seemed to match the rose, and I could see a dewdrop on the rose and smell the rose. Anyone else? Did everyone hear? That was lovely.